My coverage of Computex 2024 is brought to you by ANTEC, Asus, Corsair, and G-Skill. To learn more about all their new products, check out the links in the description below. We're at the LIAN booth now here at Computex 2024, and there's a lot of cool stuff here. I thought they had just run out of surprises, but LIAN continues to impress. This is the O11 Vision Compact, which is slightly smaller. This is actually more akin to the size of the original O11. The O11D. If you guys remember, it was much more compact than like the O11 Evo is. Like that's a monstrous case in comparison, but they've kind of gone back to their original roots when it comes to sizing with the Vision Compact, which is kind of nice to see. If you have limited space on your desk, this is going to be a bit more accommodating. But there's also a few more tricks up its sleeve. So obviously you still get the triple glass panels here, top, front, and side. However, the Compact is also going to come included with a couple additional panels for airflow. Tons of radiator support here, as you can see, for 120s and 140mm fans, and then a mesh panel. If you really want to get the most out of the case performance-wise, you can go ahead and do that. So they've actually utilized the, this little iconic triangle on the corner of the case here. I'll go ahead and focus that. The triangle here, you can see that on the Compact, they've turned it into a little platform for those other panels to rest on. And these are all included with the Compact, so you don't have to buy them separately. It's just a single SKU. Another cool feature about this case, if you notice over here, is that it has this giant rubber grommet in the corner right above the motherboard for AIO tubes, meaning that you can actually fit up to a 360mm radiator on the side of the case and still have the nice see-through glass panel at the top. It's kind of a have your cake and eat it too type of feature that I think works really well. It looks really good, and it solves that problem of needing to compromise airflow versus aesthetics. This is really a smart solution that I think they've come up with, and it's only available right now on the O11 Vision Compact. Also, it's back connect supported. This is just a standard motherboard, but I do believe that on this case, you can see that we've got all the cutouts there for any kind of back connect motherboard. I think they're going to retail this for around $120, which is actually about 20 bucks cheaper than the original O11 Vision. And that's just because it's a smaller case, fewer materials, pretty solid. This is the LanCool 217. Let me go ahead and just get that right there. The 217. This is a mid-tower case, tons of airflow. Dual 170mm fans at the front. They've actually done something really cool here. No pun intended. There's a switch, I don't know which switch it is. I'm actually scared to try. There might be a button on here. Is it on the top? Okay, I wasn't sure if that was a reset button. So if you press that button, it actually makes the blades spin the opposite direction in order to catch more dust, to basically kick off a lot of the dust that's behind the impeller. And you can see we've got a couple dust filters here. Oh, they're magnetic, perfect. Yep, so that's where the dust will go. You just wipe it off, a little compressed air. Solves a big problem of having a lot of dust buildup come from behind the fan. That's generally a hard to reach area, hard to clean area when your fan is installed in a PC. Tons of liquid cooling support as well. If you want to go for a radiator at the top, we also have triple 120s on the bottom, up to a 140 on the rear. You have your I/O on the side actually, two USB Type A's, a Type C, combo audio jack, and we're seeing this increasing trend of wood paneling on cases, which I'm a fan, also no pun intended, but I really like this wood grain. It actually looks very intentional and pretty high quality as well. I'm not sure, this is probably a prototype, so maybe the finishing isn't exactly perfect yet, like some of the edges don't meet perfectly, but I'm sure it's just an engineering sample. But very nice wood grain, and do you know what this is retailing for? $119. $119, I think that's a very fair price for this level of cooling, and the 170mm fans are, of course, included with that price. Let's go ahead and move along to the other case that they've got here, which is the LanCool 207. I actually really like this case. This is more on the budget side. You guys, as I'm talking about this, feel free to take your guess as to how much they're going to be selling this for. Oh yeah, go ahead. Thank you very much. My friend is helping me here. So this is a very compact mid-tower. It's sort of designed with, portability in mind. Not portability, but more so just space saving, right? Space efficiency. They really tried to maximize the use of space in a relatively small mid-tower. One way they've managed to do that is actually put the motherboard further back, and that actually creates a number of benefits. For one, you have these two recessed 120mm fans that do come included with the case, and being able to push those back along with the motherboard actually lines them up perfectly with the GPU. On a lot of PSU shrouds, the fans are closer to the tempered glass, and they're not exactly aimed directly at the VGA card. In this case, they're guided right at them. We got dual 140s at the front, and we've got a nice, interesting little PSU platform here. This is the PSU shroud is actually at the front because the power supply is at the front. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. But you can see it's sort of elevated here. It's helping the front fans not interfere with the airflow of the bottom fans. So this just helps separate the two channels of airflow to provide better cooling. Notice there's a bit of ventilation on that side. Thank you very much. Very interesting backside here. So this all looks pretty standard. Motherboard, CPU cooler cutout. Power supply, however, is at the front, like I mentioned, but you also see that the cables and connectors are facing me. This is not like a Corsair Shift power supply. This is a standard universal ATX PSU. They've just managed to add a pass-through for it so that you can add whatever PSU and still have easy access to all those cables. I'm really enjoying this trend. We're starting to see this more. ANTEC had something like this on one of their cases. But now you can sort of see how the cable routing has changed slightly. Now we're going up on this side of the case, and like your 8-pin for the EPS would sort of go around the top and back in there. It's more or less the same, but kind of flipped. So you can put a couple 3.5-inch drives down here, and it looks like you can mount 2.5-inch drives as well. Looks like you got room for 2 of those. But here's another look at just what they've done with this case. Like I said, they've moved the motherboard closer here, so you don't actually get a whole lot of room for cable management here. It's pretty flat up against the side panel, but that's just because they've shifted it all to this side. The other nice perk about having the motherboard so far back is that you have a bit more clearance at the top of the case for AIOs and your fan assembly. So now the radiator is not going to interfere as much with the VRM heat sinks on your motherboard. You're able to squeeze in a bit more performance if you so choose, which is nice to see because we're starting to see a lot more fans just have, you know, like 30 millimeter, 28 millimeter thickness. It's a bit more, a bit fatter than the standard that we've seen. So it's nice that these cases are starting to accommodate that a bit more. I don't know if I mentioned it, but all 4 of these fans are included. The 2 140s and the 2 120s at the bottom, which are reverse, of course. And these are addressable RGB. I believe these are actually 30 millimeters thick as well. What do you guys think? Pricing on this? I guessed $100. I was wrong. They're talking about an MSRP of $79.99 USD for this case. I think with all the features that come included with this case, the fact that it has such good radiator support and still being this compact with 4 fans included, it's going to be a hard case to top at $79. Lian Li is very committed to cleaning up the look of your PC with this new Hydroshift 360 TL AIO. You notice that the tubing is not going through that grommet, but it's actually running behind the radiator. You get sort of a look at it right there. Aha! Actually, I might as well just show you right here. This is exactly what's going on. You've got the tubing that has these little clamps. The clamps on the side of the radiator. So you can just run it alongside there. Gives it a very nice, clean, seamless look. And they did have to revamp the material of the hoses so that they don't kink, since you are going to be curving them rather aggressively. But you can see here, no kinkage. They're trying their best to not force you to change the inner diameter of the tubing so that you can maintain a constant flow rate, maintain performance. And you can even you can feel these tubes are incredibly tough, but they're still flexible. They're very flexible, but they do not like pinch inward. And then finally, we got to check this out. This is pretty wild. So they've got 8 different channels of RGB going on here, right? There's one channel with that triple set of fans. There's another one that's connected, and then all the other fans, and there's a streamer cable and all this stuff. And then they're like, the rep was like, hey, tell me where is the controller? Where's the RGB controller? I was looking around for a minute. I was like, you got me. I don't know. Where is it at? It's here. It's wireless, bro. It's a USB receiver that's receiving the signal of the RGB. And then they're using the motherboard. They're using the motherboard for power. It's genius. It's like, why do we actually need a SATA-powered hub in order to power all of our RGB devices when the motherboard is its own hub? The motherboard has always provided power to many things, like the graphics card or the memory. So Lian Li's actually utilized that age-old concept with RGB, and it's It's glorious. Now, I was a little concerned at first. I was like, oh no, now they're going to have a reason to charge $150 for a 3-pack of fans just because of this new technology. That's not the case. It's going to be the same price of around 89 bucks for a triple pack with the wireless receiver included. And that's because they're actually saving money on this design since there's only one header, right? There's only one connector here as opposed to a bunch of them. And by the way, this connector is actually if you want to connect this receiver directly to your motherboard instead of just using USB. If you don't want this showing externally outside of your PC for some reason, you can just connect it to the motherboard. You get options. Amazing design. This is the future. It seemed like there were other brands that were catching up, trying to play catch up with LIAN Li in terms of making the daisy chain design. I mean, there's been lawsuits recently. I won't get into it, but there's been a lot of copycat designs, and it seemed, right when it seemed like these brands were about to catch up to LIAN Li, they pull this hat trick. This is ridiculous. I absolutely love it. But they're really just trying to eliminate the need for any controllers, which I definitely appreciate. Also, that LIAN Li streamer cable is new. There are no cables coming off of it. It's just an extension that's plugged directly into the power supply cable. If we can get a tighter look over here. It's just plugged in directly to this power supply cable, and that's what's supplying it power. It doesn't need an additional cable connected to a controller for more power. It's just using straight power from the power supply directly. It's very cool. That's going to do it for my coverage here at the LIAN Li booth at Computex 2024. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more coverage coming at you really soon. I will see y'all in the next video.